Hello and welcome. When we talk about death illiteracy, we're really talking about three interconnected issues. There's death denial, death illiteracy, and death negativity. Each of these shapes how we experience death, and together, from my perspective, they create a personal and cultural crisis. So let's unpack this. Death denial. It's the lack of preparation, really. It's one of the clearest ways that death denial shows up is that people postpone and outright reject conversations about end of life. And the result is that there's no plans, there's no values-based directives, there's nothing to guide a family or a group of friends or a community. Folks are left scrambling, making really difficult decisions in the middle of their grief, in the middle of their stress. It's nearly impossible and tragic, and it happens all the time. In fact, only 22% of Americans have documented their end of life wishes. And that means the vast majority of people will leave their loved ones guessing, really wondering if they made the right call, scared that they failed, really wrapped up in what do I do? And the lack of preparation doesn't just create logistical challenges, creates a good amount of, as we've talked about, emotional suffering, and also, not sure where to put all their assets or how to get to their assets or passwords for their computer or what to do with all their physical belongings or their pets, and what they wanted done with their body. So these are really potent and impactful decisions that need to be made. And it's true that when we make these decisions, we don't always get what we want. But having a guide, a roadmap, a guide for our loved ones is so helpful and reduces suffering significantly. So that's what death denial creates. Death illiteracy. This is a whole other bucket of challenge, right? And when we're misinformed, ill-informed, and uninformed, and we navigate end of life, it feels like walking through a maze, blindfolded and backwards. We don't know our options. We don't know the options for our loved ones. We don't know what's legal, what's possible, what kind of care is available beyond the standard medical model. And often we're turning to people in authority, quote unquote, authority, in industrialized systems, right, in hospital systems or funeral home systems. And certainly, as Atul Gawande wrote in his book, Being Mortal, medical professionals do not receive much training about end of life. The exceptions to this would be folks in palliative care, folks in hospice care. But other than that, a standard medical education does not really give any kind of instructions about how to guide and support families. And then we're misinformed by really basic things like, did you know you can die at home? That you can refuse aggressive medical interventions? That you can have family involved in caring for the body to some extent, even in hospital systems? That you can design your own vigil, invite your community into the process, and you can have alternative to conventional burial or cremation. Most of us don't know these things because we're not taught, and we're left to figure it out in the moment when there's a whole lot of decisions to be made. So that's death illiteracy. And then death negativity is really the loss of the sacred, right? Perhaps the greatest tragedy of death negativity is that it strips death of its meaning. And instead of being seen as a profound and sacred transition, death as framed as a failure, something to be feared, something to be avoided, and certainly something to be fought against at all costs. And often the costs are very high. So I invite you to sit with this. What is your relationship to death? What kind of silence have you inherited? And what kind of death denial, death illiteracy, and death negativity are you sitting with? How could that be shaping your fears, your choices, and your ability to be present with your own process of decline or someone else's? And what would change in your life if we could all become more death literate and support each other? What would it look like to live and prepare for death with clarity, intention, and connection? Write any of those answers below in the comments and we can keep the conversation going.